Well, we might as well just rip the Band-Aid off. So, Sam, I mean, go ahead, man. Go off.
Yeah, Raiders number 6 overall. They take Ashton Genty, best running back in the class. And I know traditionally everybody's going to say you don't take a running back this high and blah blah blah. I think you know throughout this draft, what I saw, and it's hard to separate the Shedeur Sanders and each team. I thought overall the Raiders had a really solid draft. In the second round, they traded back multiple times and they collected picks throughout. So since the first, since the draft started, as everybody's been, looking at the highlight reels and anything they could scout or read about these players, it seems like the Raiders got a really good, I would say, top 5 picks. Their offensive linemen that they took in the third round, Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant. Those guys are considered like two really good guards. One of them's a tackle, but probably will be a guard. But you got like 5 guys that are going to be instant contributors, and that's something that we talked about earlier a few weeks ago with Pete Carroll and John Spytek. Is when Pete Carroll came into Seattle, they turned that roster over. They had the most transactions in that league year, and the Raiders they're already on pace to do that. They're already releasing players from the previous regime. They're doing their work and bringing in a bunch of undrafted free agents. So they're getting ready to turn this roster over, get younger, and tying it back into why the Raiders didn't take Shedeur Sanders. If you look at all these guys that the Raiders took, one of the first things that was said about all of them is how much they love football, working out, studying film, and being a good student of the game. That's something that Pete Carroll and John Spytek value very much. Um, Pete Carroll still teaches at USC. He teaches like one class, and he does a couple of hours each week. So that's kind of where I thought why Shedeur Sanders wasn't going to make it as a Raider. Even though they had multiple opportunities to pick him. I know some of my Raider fans were texting me, why don't they take him here? Take him here. Um, I just think it was a fit. I just think the interview probably didn't go well, and the personality fit. I don't think it was going to work with Pete Carroll in that first year, second year, and beyond. And also, too, the Raiders traded their third round pick to bring in Geno Smith, so you have a veteran quarterback. And I know everybody's going to say the Raiders are not going to be ready to compete for a Super Bowl. I'm not saying they're going to compete for a Super Bowl right now, but they're trying to get as many playmakers and be as competitive as they could possibly be. So they went and got the running back. They took multiple wide receivers. They took multiple guys on the offensive line. They did take a developmental project in the sixth round at quarterback, and then I
Cam
know
Miller.
it's listed as 2 quarterbacks. Um, but this guy, he's more of a football player. Tommy Mellott, quarterback out of Montana State. He's really good at wide receiver. He could play running back. So I don't think he's going to be a quarterback. But they did draft Cam Miller as a developmental project. But I also think this says a lot about what the Raiders think about Aiden O'Connell. He's definitely going into the season as the backup, and then you got the project player at the back end. They're just trying to add dudes, dudes that can come in, start, compete, and start contributing right away. That's what they want. And unfortunately for Shedeur Sanders, it wasn't going to work out for him in Las Vegas.
Right.
Yeah, I think the Raiders did an excellent job with the draft. I mean, I'm glad that they didn't try and throw a curveball like they've done in many years past and just said, we're taking the best player, and it was the running back. And I think you have a generational talent running back that he's going to be hard to tackle, and it's going to be fun to watch him develop throughout
The
the
question
upcoming
I
year.
have for you, Sam, as like Ashton Genty, obviously now on the Raiders. When in our fantasy league are you looking to draft him? Is it your first pick in the first round, or do you try to hope he's still there in the second or the third? Like how soon are you looking to draft him?
I'm not revealing that secret yet.
I
It's
tell you
got
what, like I'll be shocked if he makes it past the first round. We got a couple of Raiders fans in our league, obviously besides you. So yeah, he's not getting to the
I think
second
he's
round.
going to be a very high fantasy guy because Pete Carroll wants to run the ball.
Mhm.
Um, you know, like I said, they added two guys to the offensive line that are really good. Um, that offensive line is actually young, with the exception of Colton Miller. And I know he's kind of a question mark right now. I think they're going to fix it. I think they'll bring him back. They'll work something out. But now after this draft, that offensive line is a lot deeper and way more physical than you are last year with Jackson Powers Johnson at center. That guy is a dog. I think Ashton Genty is going to be a very fine pickup wherever you get him in
Yeah.
the fantasy football
Yeah,
draft.
totally. Yeah, no, it's uh yeah, like all signs are pointing up on him. Like, yeah.
You
So
know, this dude Beach, this dude had a first round grade, and it was a miracle that he fell that far in the second round. I don't know if you guys looked into his story, but his brother was killed in the New Orleans shooting, I believe it was, if I remember that correctly.
The truck.
Oh, the
Truck.
truck, yeah. And
oh yeah.
he caught the game-winning touchdown in his following game, which was a bowl game. And just an easy story to root for. His brother was also a football player. And just seems like an all-around good dude. So you're easy to root for. But he also looks like he's going to be your number 2 wide receiver going in. Dude is an animal. So I think they got some studs, and that's what you need. You just need to keep adding. You did really well last year. I think your first 3 picks turned out to be starters, and you had a fourth guy as a contributor. Now you got a solid draft. It looks like right now you need starters, you need depth. A plus in my mind. They didn't
Fair enough.
screw it up. They did not not
Yeah.
one pick was like,
A
what?
head scratcher.
What
Yeah,
are
yeah. No,
you doing? Like
yeah.
all of them were like, okay, I see it. I see it,
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, we might as well go down the draft order here.
Yeah.
Vince, you're up next. Vince, you guys
Yeah.
took who I thought might have slid down a little bit further given his recent ankle injury here, and I thought the Eagles might be looking at him, but looks like you guys took the player that I was thinking
Michael
about here.
Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I'm genuinely thrilled with that pick. That's a great one. Uh you can tell that Robert Saleh's back because the first 5 picks,
All
all
defense.
defense, baby. That's actually the first time since I looked it up. I believe it was 1981 that the Niners went like 5 defensive players in their first 5 picks. Let's see, and that's the same class that had like Ronnie Lott and Eric Wright in it. So uh, I'm not saying it's that class, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying we got a Ronnie Lott in here, but it's it's good to know that they're focusing on the defense. I mean, that the run defense especially was just abysmal in that second half of the year. Getting Williams to give Bosa a running mate, on the other side, on the other edge, that's going to be huge going forward for the next few years. While you got him on the rookie contract, at least Michael Williams. The question mark, like going Upton Stout, like your compensatory third round pick, the cornerback. That one left me a little bit of a head scratcher. He's a smaller guy. He's basically he projects out to be a nickel cornerback. Uh, I mean, you kind of already have one in Juan Williams, so that was interesting. But I just, I don't like that's one like they didn't really address the offensive line. That's where I'm like a little bit confused. I wish the
That
Niners would
is
have done more with the offensive line. They hit the defensive line hard, and I'm glad that they did. But I mean, in the draft, you got let me just count. You got a guard, Connor Colby from Iowa in the 7th round, one of your 2 7th round compensatory picks. And then in terms of undrafted, you got Drew Moss, who was an offensive lineman out of Colorado State, and that's it for offensive line. None of those guys are tackles either. So I don't know, man. I like I it makes me a little nervous. I Trent Williams is not getting younger. I mean, he's still all world talent, but like if he gets injured again, that's going to be a huge problem, especially on Brock's blind side. And so I'm a little antsy there. Maybe there's a trade to be had. Maybe somebody wants out of their team, and the Niners are going to try to pounce on that situation, but that's not going to reveal itself until basically preseason starts, right? Like when
Mm-hmm.
people start missing games. So I guess until then, I'm just going to have Ajita for the next 4 months about this offensive line. So that's great. The one thing that the Niners did, and that's something that they've had a habit of doing all the time, is you just grab a quarterback at the back end. If you don't like, if you're not trying to draft a quarterback at the start of the draft, you just throw one at the end, and they got Curtis Rourke from Indiana, excuse me. And he was basically playing on a torn ACL the entire season, and actually, Indiana had a hell of a season, even with that quarterback having a torn ACL. So, it's a project. It's a guy that probably won't be available at least to start the year. He may not even be available at all this first year. So, he might be a guy that is trying to push to be the backup quarterback in 2026. So, but 2025, you got him on the roster, and then if something happens and he's able to showcase something, you trade him to somebody and get a little value out of it, and that's something that the Niners have historically done. You think about guys like all the way back to like Jim Druckenmiller, uh, Elvis Gerbach was Steve Young's backup quarterback for a while, and they ended up getting some value trading him to the Chiefs. Like situations like that have been happening forever with the Niners. And I mean, you look at even recently with like who's Nick Mullins, he's still like getting backup jobs. I think he's in maybe Jacksonville now or something, but because maybe that's CJ Beathard. But the point is, like, the Niners backup quarterbacks, they look good on tape, and like they're able to get some value out of those guys going forward. So, you know, I like doing that. Jordan James, the running back specifically that they got in the 5th round, that's a guy. Let's see, the scouting report that I read, it looks like his speed is the question mark, and that's kind of why he fell down to the 5th round, is because he's just kind of mid in terms of speed. A 4.55 second 40. But and then the draft being like super deep at running back, that's kind of what had him fall to the 5th round. But like he could end up being a guy that if something happens with CMC again, or maybe next year if CMC's not able to go, or he's gone, or whatever happens, he's a guy that may be able to feature in the future possibly. So um I like that as well. But yeah, I like the defense. I like the running back. I like throwing a quarterback in there. I don't. Yeah. So I'm. We'll see. I'm kind of like letting it play out, I guess, as far as the Niners go. I just, I'm trying not to get too high. I'm not trying to get too low. You didn't get like, Michael Williams is the biggest name they got in the draft. That's great. He's not going to sell a ton of jerseys, at least not initially. So I'm not going to try to get too high or too low on these picks. I want to actually see how they work out. Look at me on the internet taking a measured approach. What kind of bullshit is this?
It sounds like the grade that is being bestowed with the 49ers seems pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all I can say, boys, is Howie done did it again, boys. There is no reason Jahad Campbell should have fell to the Eagles, and he sure did. So I would say that is
They had to
amazing.
trade up to get him, though.
one pick, and we swapped a 5th. Ah, shoot me, huh? Jahad Campbell is the first linebacker the Eagles have drafted since 1979 with Jerry Robinson. If you're a Raiders fan, you might be familiar with him. He ended his career from San Francisco, local for us in that retrospect. And then we turned around and drafted a safety, something that the Eagles just don't do in Andrew Mukuba. So I'm super excited. Howie is always seems to find a way to make the draft his personal chessboard, and he's done it again here. So we also did draft a quarterback in Kyle McCord. Pretty excited about that one. And it wouldn't be an Eagles draft if we didn't get a Georgia player, which we did get a linebacker in Smale Mondin in the 5th round. So
Yeah, normally you get a defensive lineman, but this time you backed it up a couple of rounds and you backed it up one space on the defense too, to the
yeah,
linebacking level.
I think that was one of the things that we were a little bit thin in, as far as if we were to be injured, which luckily, Reed Blankenship and uh, uh, Zach Bond stayed relatively healthy for the whole season. But if one of them gone down, we were super thin at the middle linebacker position, and it really showed once N'Kobe Dean went down. So I think they really made a good point of addressing that. One thing I did want to note at 4 o'clock Eastern today, I believe that any free agents that sign after 4 o'clock do not affect any compository picks. So basically, what that means is Howie Roseman now doesn't have to worry about losing compository picks and can just go spend money. So I'm curious to see what we're going to get. I have been having my eye on a certain player, and I just, I think it might happen. If it does, I'm not going to say I'm an oracle or anything like that because it seems to be the talk amongst everyone here. But it seems like what we could get here, we are looking at. Oops, pulling up my notes here that I had here. Justin Simmons. So he played with Vic Fangio in Denver. It sounds like he kind of had a falling out with Atlanta. Doesn't really want to go back to them. So we'll see. I mean, we've got money to burn. We did trade C.J. Gardner-Johnson, so there is definitely a position needed at the safety position out there. So I'm excited, man. It's another season of Howie Roseman doing Howie Roseman things, and next year we have an absurd amount of picks that I'm sure is going to be used as trade bait to get whatever he wants to get. So let's go for it, boys.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Let's see what else. Oh, they announced that they're going to announce the schedule on May 14th during the draft. God, the NFL is good. Like they are very good at monopolizing attention, aren't they? And announcing an announcement like who but the NFL, like Jesus Christ.
Did you
Uh
guys see? I think it was in the 3rd round. That wrestler for the who did the
Oh, the
Bears pick.
Chicago Bears guy.
Oh man, I was driving and had the audio on that. Man, he had me fired up, man. That guy was awesome to listen to. I don't know if you guys got to get the chance, but if you look it up,
I seen it. Yeah.
yeah, the Bears
yeah.
pick, the wrestler. I forget the guy's name, but that was great. It was great banter. I love that he was sticking it to Lambeau and reminded them that Caleb Williams is undefeated at Lambeau Field. It's great.
Oh man. Yeah, I like Jimmy Uso coming out for the Niners, and I actually like that they dusted off Julian Peterson.
Yeah.
Julian Peterson got to announce a pick for the Niners, so that was kind of cool too.
Yeah, they had the goat in Jordy Nelson for Green Bay do a pick for them too. So all around, man,
Yeah,
it was fun times.
yeah. I mean, and they said it was like 200,000 people in Green Bay for the draft, which is basically double the entire town's population. And I think in part they put it in Green Bay to try to limit the amount of people that would show up, and no, that didn't work because the NFL is king. And
Yep.
so maybe next year they just say, screw it, we're putting it in LA, or screw it, we're like we'll just put it at freaking any of these like Houston or just one of the big major markets. I would say the Bay Area, except the Bay Area is hosting the Super Bowl, so that you want to kind of spread the love a little bit.
Oh man, put it here
Yeah.
too.
Well, no, I mean if you're hosting the Super Bowl in 2026, and then like 3 months later turn right around and have the draft here again, I think that's like showing favoritism or something like that. So they probably wouldn't do that, but whatever.
Well, I believe that wraps up everything I had for the draft. Unless you guys want to talk about the teams that did terrible at their draft day. Sam is biting to say it.
Do it.
I'm just like, what caused Shedeur to fall? What are you guys thinking? Like that's what everybody's talking about. Nobody's
Right.
talking about Cam Ward going number one.
No,
Nobody's talking
it's
about
Shedeur.
it's
Yeah.
about Shedeur falling. So
So I think it's a combination of things. First off, I think the teams themselves probably had a second or a third round grade on him, and then when you put all the extracurricular stuff on it, it makes the teams not want to, pull the trigger on it until until it suddenly became worth it, and it became worth it for the Browns in the fifth round, and that's a poverty franchise that likes to throw money at risky situations, right? If Shedeur Sanders ends up
and
working
I don't
out,
even
then they
think their
got a hell
general
of a
manager
value.
and head coach wanted it.
No,
Yeah,
he
no,
didn't.
that
Did you
was
see the video of them celebrating?
yeah,
You
yeah,
get a potential top 5 pick in the later rounds on day 3, and everybody is just like, you would if that was any other player, you'd be fist pumping and cheering. They
right,
don't
yeah.
get
So I
very
mean,
excited.
the body language is weird. It sounds like you hear whispers, I guess, of like people saying like maybe the interviews weren't that good or something with the teams, and that's another contributing factor. So something with the personality was just rubbing people the wrong way, I guess. So he's gonna have a shot in Cleveland to kind of prove it all wrong. The Browns did draft a different quarterback in the third round too.
Dylan
So
Gabriel.
yeah, so that's going to be an interesting situation to see how that shakes out.
Yeah, they
Who
have like
wins
5 QBs, man. It's kind of
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, they brought in Joe Flacco again, right?
Yep.
If I remember
Yep.
correctly. So
Yep.
you got Flacco there. You got he who must not be named. The
Didn't
massage
Pickett end up
artist.
there?
Huh?
Isn't
Yeah,
Kenny Pickett there?
Pickett got traded up there.
Pickett is over there, and now you got 2 quarterbacks in the draft. So there's just not enough there's not enough roster spots
Well,
to
Deshaun
host.
Watson's not going to be on the roster because of the injury. Like, so
Right.
he's
Right, yeah, so the injury.
right.
Yeah. So that's, wasted money. Just Browns wasting, just Browns doing Browns things. Browns gonna Brown, as Papa G in the
The
chat
Browns
says.
have 5 QBs. Like one of them's got to work. I don't know which one it is. But
Yeah,
one of them's got to work.
I mean, right now, like of the 3 that aren't the rookies, I think I like Kenny Pickett the most in terms of like stability, but I think in terms of like big play, like just like F it, let's
Wait,
throw
excuse
the
me.
ball.
Super Bowl
Champion.
Super Bowl champion.
Super Bowl champion Kenny Pickett. Yeah, you're right. No, but I mean, if you're looking for fantasy value, it's Flacco. If you're looking for stability, it's probably Kenny Pickett. And then, if you're just looking for upside, it's probably Shedeur Sanders for upside. But I mean,
If
then why
Shedeur
pick the
Sanders, if his talent really is the number 2 overall pick, or arguably the number 1
QB?
overall pick,
Yeah,
you would think once camp opens and preseason starts, like, he should blow all these dudes out of the water.
yeah,
Like,
he
just
would.
based on like an ability to play football,
Mm-hmm.
he should.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I tend to agree with what you're saying, Vince, and why he fell so hard.
Mhm.
Julia was asking me, why did he build his own like draft room? Why does he have a shelf for all the hats? Like, there was
That's his dad,
so many
man. That's his
things
dad
like
in his mind.
that he
Yeah.
did that I think just doesn't we're regular people, and he's obviously the talent level, but also the financial level with being the son of Deion Sanders. He's not a normal person. He didn't have a normal upbringing. I'm just talking like average American, average income, like Americana type of stuff here. So I think there's definitely something with the personality. I think there's definitely something that is a little bit off-putting. Over the past couple of days as he was falling, I was kind of like wondering how he going into depth of like how he handled interviews and things like that. So I started finding like post-game interviews, and he was just, what can I do with an offensive line like this? Like, he was blaming teammates. Like, he was saying, well, there's only so many things we can do. because of the offensive line. So it was like, and he had a terrible offensive line. Like they had a terrible offensive line. But I think it's one thing to come out and like say it, and it's another thing to say like, we win as a team, we lose as a team, we got to button things up. Like,
Yeah.
especially when you're the face of a team, you're the quarterback, you're automatically that thing. And I think when you're acting that way in college, where you're passing the blame, where like I did my part, like that rubs people the wrong way. That's not leadership. Just because you're the most talented doesn't mean you're the default leader. We in many sports we've seen the least talented guy be the captain of a team, be the heart and soul of the team. What do we talk about with Draymond Green? He's not their number one scorer. He's not the name of the franchise, the face of the franchise. He's a piece to these championship teams. But he's often referred to as the heart and soul of the Golden State Warriors. And I think teams just added up all the stuff and just said, this is a guy that we're not going to feel comfortable with as the face of our franchise. He's not mature enough for it. And I think it's also the baggage that Dion was going to bring. We're gonna force our way out of a trade. There's only some cities that my son is going to play in. I think all of that baked into the equation
Yeah.
played into it.
It
And I
became
think
a perfect storm of
with the
just like,
Raiders,
yeah.
Tom Brady's pulling the strings, right? It is minority owner, president of football, Tom Brady. And I think he has a good relationship with Shedeur and Dion. But I think at the end of the day, Brady, Carroll, Spytek, the way the organization is going is football team first. Do not put anything at jeopardy. And I think they thought there was suspicion, and they just weren't comfortable with. And then also, as I said earlier in the draft segment, you look at the players that the Raiders were drafting, they're not, other than the quarterback, none of these guys are projects, right? Like your first 5 or 6 picks are all dudes that should come in and compete because you have the veteran quarterback. So I think they were trying to add as many pieces through the draft to compete right away, to make sure that this roster is as deep as possible. Where if you have Geno Smith and then you come in and you draft Shedeur Sanders, it's kind of a wasted roster spot for right now. Because I think they're just trying to get competitive. But I think you summed it up well, Vince. It's all of these off the field things baked into it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what dropped him. I will say that the prank call was effed up. That was wrong. That was messed up. And I will say that Shedeur Sanders did handle that really well. I really liked his quote where he said, "You know what? It is what it is. It didn't even bother me. We all do childish things sometimes in life. I ain't tripping." And he picked up the phone. The kid called. Jax called. I shouldn't call him a kid. He's a 21. He should know. He's 21 years old. He should know right and wrong. He stole information from his father's laptop, made this prank call. So I will throw Shedeur Sanders some flowers on that. He did handle that very well in a very ugly moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my last thoughts on it is that, like, I give New York shit all the time, but there's just no way that Dart is better than Shedeur. Tyler Slow for the Saints. Yeah, all the off the field stuff was a big issue, but I was kind of shocked that at least the Saints weren't even looking at it, knowing that they're not going to be competitive for the next 4, maybe 5, 6 years. To have a quarterback that you could grow into that position, it just was really telling that a lot of the stuff that was on the background didn't want to be picked up by teams that probably could use a quarterback and could care less about what his talent level is at this point, is what it seems like between the Giants and the Saints there. So, and then again the Browns. I mean, it's just quarterback hell. I just think about that guy that has the vest with all the quarterbacks that have been drafted since like 2004. It's like a whole vest of names. Just add 2 more.